next I have just a clip here that I cut out from the video. It's just a little example and it's like just about a minute and a half. So I'll go ahead and let it play.
Next up, we're going to watch April go back in time with the Star Machine when an audience member asked to see something that's already set.
There's a big square that makes Pegasus. Actually, we're going to back up here. This is not what you're going to see out in the real sky. This is the Earth rotating backwards for a second so that we can get Pegasus, the flying horse. See his big wing over here? Okay, and then there's her front legs. There's a head.
I like the way how April states that she's going to move the sky backwards so she doesn't confuse her audience.
Definitely. Next up, we're going to see Michael move the sky forward to get the moon in the right place.
And notice how he doesn't get flustered and he's transparent about what he's doing.
Now, it turns out if you were to go outside this evening, it looks like my Star Machine has maybe done something a little weird. It has put the moon in a position for last night. So this is, of course, this is just my excuse to show you how quickly the moon moves from one night to the next. Just keep your eyes on the moon. From one night to the next night, that's about how much it's going to move.
I love the way he used that little glitch with the moon as a teaching moment. We have to work through those glitches.
We do.
So that's just a little sliver of tidbit of the video. And it's about 45 minutes long or something, and it covers a lot of different topics. So these are the topics that it covers. So it's on the website. You can review these and go back and watch some segments of the video, or you can watch the whole thing beginning to end. It's a great training tool. So the idea was that, hey, you know, this is really useful for all of us to really learn from each other. And so how can we learn best from each other? And the best, we can't really travel to visit each other all the time. You know, if we're lucky enough, we have some planetariums close enough that you can swing by. But for the most part, you know, we kind of do things virtually. And so if we can get recordings of people and share that with each other, so we can learn from each other and really, you know, when we all do better, we all do better. So, and when we share what we're doing, then we all do better too. So the idea is, let's try this again. Let's, you know, do a sequel to this video that was very popular and very useful. And so this presentation is essentially a call to action, I guess you could say. If you are interested in seeing this happen again, then we need to figure out how to make it happen again. So what will it take to get a sequel? Well, the number one thing is you. We need help. We need people who are willing to record themselves. And so that is really, it can be challenging and can be kind of nerve-wracking to kind of essentially put yourself out there. But we can all learn so much from each other that it's really valuable. So the benefits, some of the benefits that I thought of just off the top of my head, certainly I found that listening to my own recordings is kind of cringeworthy, but at the same time, I learn a lot. And I notice things that maybe I do that maybe I would rather I didn't do, or things that I really want to reinforce and continue doing. You can use those recordings for your own staff at your institution. You can take a specific area of expertise that you are, you know, really tuned into, and you can share that out as well. And any kind of little tips and tricks that you picked up along the way. You know, we learn things as we go and we experience unique situations and we figure out how to handle them. And then of course, sharing it with others and helping others to learn from your experiences as well. So this is kind of the roadmap. And I know these words are a little bit small, but the big one to notice is really this first one here. We're in the very first steps of getting this out there. You know, we need your help to get the word out and to help us decide whether this is a worthwhile goal. Do we really want to do this? Is there an interest in doing this in the community? Will people use it and find it useful? And so I want to kind of get a feel from all of you about some of these things, some of the challenges and the benefits and things like that. So let's see here. I think So here's what I want us to do. We are going to take some time, basically almost the rest of my time, to really just kind of hash through some of this stuff and figure out what we have to do in order to make this a successful project. So we are going to actually be utilizing Jamboards today. If you're not familiar with Jamboards, they're really just kind of like virtual Post-it note boards, I guess. And so Carrie is going to post the link and I am going to share my screen. And so we are going to all join on Jamboard number 1. And we are there. I have 3 different Jamboards for us to look at. And they each have a different topic to address. And you can put a Post-it note on there. If you have a comment you'd like to share just with the group, you're welcome to unmute and share those as well. But we're going to spend some time just kind of digesting and chewing on some of these questions. There's only 3 of them. So everybody go to this link in the chat and we will take a look at the Jamboard. So I am going to, so here's the blue ones I put up here. Well, there's 2 blue ones that I put up here that are kind of prompts. So what kind of topics would you like to learn more about or see examples of? And so you can go ahead, there's a little, can you see my mouse when I'm on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there over here on the side, there's this sticky note button. And so you can make a sticky note. So you can go ahead and put ideas that you have and then try to move them around so that we can see them. Excellent, wonderful. So anybody interested in sharing anything? Do you have questions about this or do you have any ideas that you'd like to share? Why can't I see people?
One I'm always wondering continuously is just finding more ways to know how to most effectively address crowds that are a really wide range of ages and experiences, and you don't know what those experiences are. So like strategies for that.
That's great. Yeah, definitely. That can be really challenging. You know, when you've got all the same grade, then it's a little bit easier because you know that doing something like class is going to work as opposed to, you know, you've got some kindergartners and you got some high schoolers and you're like, okay, how am I supposed to talk to these people? So that's definitely a good point. Thank you, Mary. Sweet. Wow, you guys this is awesome. While we are kind of populating this and before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and call out Jeff. Jeff, is there anything that you would like to share, stuff that I missed about the original or anything that you wanted to, anything in addition that you wanted to share about live from the planetarium?
That's a pretty open-ended question. I mean, the project was born out of the fact that, you know, people, you know, would say something that they're doing in the dome and you'd say, oh man, I wish I could be like in the audience, you know, for you doing that. And so it was just a matter of trying to send around kind of an infrared enhanced recorder with like an actual like tape on it. That was the technology at the time. And so I'm hoping that today the dark enhancement for phone cameras will allow us to not have to send around a camera, but rely on people's cameras that they have in their pockets and purses.
And sorry, Jeff, I just wanted to pop in and just say, and that's something that we'll talk about in a next Jamboard probably, or one of the subsequent ones here. But, you know, if that is a need, if you don't have a phone that you can use, or if you have a challenge, then we need to know that so that we can help to kind of basically overcome those hurdles for anybody who wants to be involved, but maybe is not tech savvy or needs some help with that. So just sharing that as well. Go ahead, Jeff. I want to interrupt again.
I'm just this stream of consciousness. So one thing that I found was that it was really valuable just to record yourself and watch yourself, as you know, painful as it is, like you said. But then to be able to share that is really valuable then to everybody else. And it was fun to go through and review the 19 hours of content.
Yeah, you really learn a lot. I think I had like almost 30 hours of recordings for my dissertation, and man, it really solidified for me how useful it is to hear other people present, and just like, man, oh, I wish I would have been doing this all along, and these people are just doing it. And so it's really great to learn from your peers. All right, it looks like our post-it notes are slowing down. There's a lot in there, which is amazing. I love it. So Krista asked, where should recordings be sent? Well, that is something we will have to still figure out. That this, assuming that people are interested, then those are the different things that we're gonna have to work out down the road. So LHS has a great system to review your own recordings. Oh, thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, Lawrence Wall of Science, I suppose. But we'll figure that out when we get to the point where we have people who are volunteering and things like that. Speaking of which, at the end here, I will post a link to a survey. So then you can sign up for us to contact you then. And if you're interested in doing it, then we'll work with you on that. And then our audio recordings, audio only recordings, okay. That has happened in the past. So there are some sections in Live from the Planetarium that are just black. So yeah, I think we can manage that as well. Definitely. Would researchers be able to access for writings? Kat, you mean like for research papers, or what do you mean for writings?
Yes, sorry. I was meaning, like, I do research on pedagogy methods in the dome or in immersive environments. So would we be able to access those for those purposes?
So I guess that's something that we will have to discuss and maybe get permission from the presenters. That's an excellent question. That's the whole point of doing this presentation, is to think of all the questions that I wouldn't have thought of myself. So thank you for that, Kat. And I think no, Carrie's got the time for me. I don't need to.
But we've been on this one for 6.5 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, so other questions about kind of procedural things that you can think of, please let us know, let me know, because those will be things that we'll have to work through in order to get to the point where we can actually do this. So wow, this is amazing. I'm just like looking at all these colors too. It's fun. Yes, thanks, Jeff, for the link. That's in my list of links to share at the end, but thank you for sharing it now. And the nice thing is that it's available even if you're not a member of GLPA. So they have it on part of their website that you can access regardless of membership.
Regarding the question about, do you have to get permission from audience members?
Oh, I didn't see that. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed that for this second round, but in the first round, we blurred children's faces in the process of putting together the final video that we're going to post. And we told presenters that we would, and in the infrared camera technology at the time, things were grainy enough that you could, easily argue that faces were not easy to recognize anyway, but that'll be something that we will have to address.
Definitely. Thank you, Jeff. All right, let's move on to the next one. You are always welcome to come back and add more, or stay here if you'd like. But I'm going to move our image on here to what kinds of things would you need to help you be able to record your presentation. So this is where we're going to do that brainstorming of what kind of technologies do I need? And this is going to take probably a minute for us to think about.
And just to be clear on the infrared camera. This was a camera that emitted infrared light that the sensor was sensitive to, as opposed to an actual infrared camera that you might have for like detecting infrared light. It just kind of flooded the room with that kind of greenish tint.
But the greenish tint is in the video, but not in the actual dome. Oh, so I see one here that says an agreement or an understanding that we're all not judging each other. That is the key here. We are not judging people. There's no way that we are going to learn if we're going to be judgmental in the process. And so absolutely, that is 100%. Anybody who wants to submit, that is the underlying idea, is that it needs to be a judgment-free zone, and absolutely 100%, I agree. Jeff, do you remember any other issues or anything that came up with technology for the first time around? I know you said that it is a little bit different because you were using videotape, right?
Part of it was even just storage back then. Now we've got cloud storage that is way better than anything we could even put on a hard drive back then. But surprisingly, a lot of the issues that you would think of as far as like, do you have to have a microphone attached to the camera that's attached to the presenter? Really just based on the audio that we were getting from the camera microphone was sufficient. We just had to make sure that we were adjusting levels when we were piecing things together. It's as long as people are forgiving of the fact that we're not trying to produce a high quality fully produced video, what we're trying to capture is techniques, then it works out,
Yeah, and to that point, also just hearing audio, if that's all you can do, then that's fine too, because you still can learn a lot without even seeing the presenter. And you miss some things like gestures and things like that, but you can still learn a lot from a presenter just by listening to the audio recording. And yeah, this is definitely not some sort of a blockbuster that's gonna, have all the special effects and everything, but it's gonna be effective. Right. Kat says many of the audience don't see us. Exactly. So and we're used to that. We're used to not seeing things or other people. So Krista says something about have a really hard time staying in one spot. Yeah. I do not stay in one spot. I literally am doing laps in the planetarium. And so it would be maybe working on either the camera angle so that you can kind of get a wide view, or having an additional person that you could have in there to actually follow you. But again, it's not important that they see you per se. It's just knowing what you're doing. I know there's a couple that are clips in the video that are black, and there are some that you can see something, but you never get to see the presenter. You just hear their voice because it's aimed towards the back of the room. And so that would also be an option. I know some people say here, like there's one here that working with our museum's marketing to have an audience sign permission, even if they're not in the focus of the camera. Maybe then you would just have the camera point in a different direction, or maybe you would just do audio only, or whatever you need to do in order to get to be okay with permissions and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to actually go ahead and move us to the next one, because nobody, worries about, or nobody doesn't like a presentation that ends early. So we'll just go ahead and move to the third one. So hurdles. So some of this stuff came up on the previous one, and maybe this is just a duplicate. These are just the questions that I came up with myself. And so if you have a hurdle that you can think of, whether it's like we've talked kind of about the technical side, but if there's other things that you would need help with, okay, yeah, like institutional buy-in, that's a good one. Time, oh yeah, that's a tough one. And here I would suggest also, if you have questions that you would like to have addressed, you could throw them on here as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be answering this question. It can be just a question that you have yourself that we can address. Otherwise, you can put them in the chat or unmute yourself and get me to stop talking for a minute, having an audience. Yeah. And of course, remember too, that this is not going to be a quick process. It's going to be taking a while to get all these things done. And so if you are, not going to be able to have an audience for however long, it's always valuable. It's always valuable to record yourself. And maybe, we have a video that kind of compiles some things, but maybe we have some sort of a database where you can go in and you can listen to different things if they're categorized in different ways or something. Who knows where this project can go? So the more recordings, the better. And obviously it's going to be something that'll be kind of, a drawn out process. So a masked presenter, yes, that can be tough. I know I present with an N95 and I use a microphone and it works pretty well. And so I definitely talk different than I do without a mask on, but it works. So I think that there's a way. Yeah, Mary says microphones work surprisingly well with masks. I actually am really enjoying how I am doing things now because of the mask, I have to not use my voice to project as much. And so my voice doesn't get as tired. And so it actually, I don't have to do as much of a range, and it's not as hard to kind of rein in the students too if they get kind of loud, because then I don't have to yell over them because I can just talk a little bit louder. The only problem with the microphone is if I turn and then my mask scrapes against it, that's loud and obnoxious. But other than that, it goes pretty well.
At the most basic level, when I did my recordings, it really can be fairly easy. As easy as just, setting up a camera on a microphone or on a tripod, and just giving the audience a heads up and saying, I'm recording this for educational purposes. If anybody has, concerns about that, let me know and I can, blur your faces and things like that. And it really didn't take a lot of prep work or a lot of other preparations for the recordings that I did.
And I see here someone put a hesitant presenter who doesn't want to be recorded. So obviously this is a volunteer thing. And hopefully, like if you're a supervisor and you want your employees to do it, then I guess that's something you guys got to figure out. But otherwise, nobody needs to do this. But we would really love for everybody who's willing to contribute, because that we can just learn from each other. Yeah. So I've seen a couple mentions of like not knowing how to do editing and like privacy concerns and not knowing how to blur faces. That's for post-production. That's for the people who are going to be editing the video, and they will be handling that part of it. So you don't need to know how to do those things. You just need to get your stuff recorded, and then we will do the work to make it so that it's what it needs to be, for sure. Yes, we will be taking volunteer editors. Thank you for asking that question, Kat. So if you are someone that likes to edit things and you would like to be involved, sign up. Let us know. We need all the help we can get. And if you have some suggestions for how to approach some of these, maybe some of these questions or hurdles that people have mentioned, then, let us know. And if you want to be on the team, then by all means, reach out. All right, I think I am going to stop sharing this. These Jamboards aren't going to go away. They're still going to be there, and you have access to them as long as you have the link. And so you're welcome to come back to them. If you think of something, be sure, if you think of something, either email me or do something, reach out, let us know, because like I said, I can only think of what I can think of, and I need everybody else's help. This is a, hive mind thing. I'm going to post these links in here. And And then my email address as well. And I'm sure Jeff can throw his email address in there if he wants to be on the list as well. As I mentioned, there's a few of us who have gotten together and talked about how we would do this. If you are interested in participating and helping out with some aspect, it is, whatever aspect you are comfortable with, then reach out, let us know. Let's see. These are the links that I just put into the chat. Please sign up to be willing to share. Obviously, I'm not going to force anybody, but if you are willing, please just, it's really quick. The questions are basically just our contact information. And the more we get, the better and more richly filled out this video can be. And maybe it's multiple videos. Maybe we get so many volunteers that we've got so much content to do that we have to do a whole series. And that would be amazing. So thank you to everybody. I'm going to be ending early. I can leave it open for questions, comments, and concerns. Again, you can contact me or you can contact Jeff. He threw his stuff out there. And I wanted to, this is also on the website, but this is thanks to all the people who contributed to the original video. Without that, we probably wouldn't be talking about this right now. Because you can't have a sequel if you don't have an original. So thank you, everybody. And for any of you who are on here right now, or when you go and watch the video, there's some people you might recognize. But yeah, that's all I've got. And I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to questions, comments, concerns. This is not stop sharing. What are you doing here?
Sarah, you are an original with no sequel.
Oh, thank you. Although some might argue there's a reason for that, but all right.
So we did have one question, Sarah. Are past recordings okay?
Sure. Yeah. If you have a recording of yourself doing something that's awesome or whatever, yeah, those are very welcome as well. And if you are one of those people who submitted a recording to me for my research and you would like to use your recording for that, you can let me know. I'm pretty sure I still have them, or else if you still have them, then you can send them to me. But yeah, and it doesn't matter what type of show. No, Shira, thank you. You can record whatever type you want. If we get down the road and there's some definite themes that people are looking for, we can definitely put a call out for that. But at this point, it's basically, if you're willing to record it, we're willing to take it and figure out what to do with it. So the more the merrier.
I was about to ask what the other Carrie just asked. What about virtual shows? Any plans to do a live from the virtual planetarium?
You know what? Do it. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's probably some really great stuff out there that we could combine. I hadn't thought of that, but heck yes, we can still learn about virtual shows. That's not going away anytime soon. So yes, thank you, Carrie. Does it have to be done with an audience? It doesn't have to. However, typically our better shows are when we're doing it for an audience, right? Because then you get the audience interaction. But if you have like a demonstration you'd like to do that you don't normally do, or you don't foresee yourself doing anytime soon, then try it without an audience. I mean, why not? In case you haven't noticed, my approach is kind of just throw everything at it and see what sticks. So this is about interaction. It can be, it doesn't have to be. I mean, most of it is, it's for live presentations. So yeah, I mean, interaction-ish, but it's, you're not going to record yourself presenting a full dome movie. Unless you have a really cool way of introducing full dome movies in general, but it's going to be more about how you interact and how you present. So Jenny says, is it worth asking people for a text list of show sections to aid future use of the clips? Oh, yes, that is, thank you, Jenny. I hope that you put that somewhere on the boards. Yeah, that's a good point. So when we ask you to submit your recording, we ask you to give us just a brief outline of the things that you're going to cover, or if there are any specific spots that you really want us to focus on and that kind of stuff. So Mary says a lot of folks do add live presenting to full dome movies, to be fair, but you need to have the movie to go along with it. Might be helpful. Not sure how many people do that. I don't know. Try it. I usually don't talk over my full dome shows, but I usually do a live part before.
Oh, that's what I meant. I didn't mean like over it. It's just like you do a short live section that goes with it.
Right.
But it's not. Yeah.
And so in that situation, what you would do is you would probably submit the live part where you're interacting with your audience, but then say, this is the show that I was talking about, or at least the general topic of the show that you were talking about, even if you don't want to share the actual title or whatever. Say, so we just learned about the sun and now I'm doing this presentation and we're talking about the sun or whatever. Good point. Thanks, Mary.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we had to record like our current night sky shows because we just didn't have enough staff. So it's a recording of us doing it. So would that also count? I feel like you're going to say yes because you barely said no to anything.
I don't say no to anybody. Yes. I think so. So here's the thing. I don't know that everything that's going to be submitted is going to be used. I don't know that everything that's submitted is going to be useful. But if you think it is, then submit it. I mean, what are we losing, right? Some time, but people are going to be working on this for a while. And if you think that there's something good that could come out of it, then yeah, submit it. Worst case scenario, we say, well, Carrie, what didn't really quite work for what we were looking for.
And then I say, how dare you?
And then I say, I'm so sorry, Carrie, please forgive me. And
All right.
electrons were inconvenienced. Okay, so whatever, right? The slides are from the Slides Carnival. Yeah, they are. I stole one of my students came up or found them and was like, where did you get those awesome slides? I love them. So that's where my PowerPoint is. It's from Slides Carnival. You can check it out. You can download it for free. And now the sun is shining. Ah, the clouds have parted and the sun is shining. All right. I think that's all my time. Thank you, Jeff, for helping and being here so that you could fill in the blank spots. And thank you all for being willing to share your thoughts and comments and concerns, and hopefully willing to share your voices and your presentations. So thanks, everybody.
So I'd like to suggest to Sarah that I really like Jenny's idea of people doing the same topic, and it might be good even as a completely separate project. You know, pick like 3 things, you know, Big Dipper, whatever, and then have people do, say, like, make 10 minutes or less on these 3 subjects and just put those together. I think that would be a really fascinating thing to watch.
I agree. I think that's great. Thank you, Jenny, for that idea. I think that would be wonderful. And it's wonderful to hear the different approaches and then find something that works well for you.
That's also great for training new people because, you know, if they watch something like how to present, you know, the Big Dipper or whatever, then that maybe just that chunk they would be willing to present, you know, just parts of it instead of a whole show, kind of diving off the deep end.
That's a really good point, Elizabeth. Thank you. Because you don't actually, so you don't have to record your whole presentation if you don't want to also. So that is definitely an option. If there's just a section of it that you want us to consider, then just record that part. Or if you, like, when you send in your recording and you're like, okay, please don't listen to the rest of it, just this 10 minutes from, you know, 12 minutes into 22 minutes or whatever, especially if you're not sure how to edit. So that's a really good point. Thank you, Elizabeth.
The other thing I was going to say is that, you know, recordings like this can also be something that you use to promote what you're doing to the public, because I think it's come out a few times today that people make assumptions about what the planetarium is about, and it would be an opportunity if you do it well, you know, to really showcase what you're doing.
Yeah, just to touch on that last point, we recently did a similar thing where we took clips of a bunch of our online presentations and used it as like an advertising video for our programs as a whole.